This is the assignment for intermediate algebra on 10.2 through 10.5. First on 10.2 we are to do 1 through 6 of vocabulary, then 1 through 40. Number 1 on the vocabulary, 9 to the negative 1/2. To get rid of the negative on your exponent, you move it to the denominator. So 1 over 9 to the 1/2. When you have fractional exponents, the denominator is the index of your radical. So it is the square root of 9 to the first. And the square root of 9 is 1/3, and 1/3 is positive. Number 2, 9 to the negative 1/2, of course, is 1 over 9 to the 1/2 to get rid of the negative exponent, which is 1 over the square root of 9, because the 2 is your index on your radical, and the 1 is the exponent. Square root of 9 is 3, so it's 1/3, not a whole number. Number 3, 1 over a to the negative m over n. To get rid of the negative on that exponent, you move it to the numerator. That gets rid of the negative exponent. And therefore, that's what we have there. When you have an x times an x, you always add the exponents. So you would add 2/3 and 1/5. And then, number 5, when you have x to the 2/3 to the 1/5 power, when you're doing that, you multiply exponents, just like if you would have had x squared to the 3rd power, which is x to the 6th. If you have x to the 2/3 over x to the 1/5, when you're dividing, you subtract the exponents, just like you would have done on x to the 6th over x squared, which is, you'd take 6 minus 2, x to the 4th. Remember, you can pause this at any time here. Hopefully you can read my writing. Number 1 on 1 through 40 is 49 to the 1/2. Number 2 is 64 to the 1/3. That 3 means you take the cube root of 64. The cube root of 64 is 4, because 4 times 4 times 4 is 64. 3 is 27 to the 1/3. 4 is 8 to the 1/3, meaning the cube root of 8. And the number times itself 3 times, it gives you 8, is 2. Number 5, 1/16 to the 1/4 power, 6. 1/64 to the 1/2 power. That 2 is your index, so square root of 1/64, you take square root of both. Square root of 1 is 1, square root of 64, 8. Number 7, 169 to the 1/2 power, 8. 81 to the 1/4 power. So that means the 4th root of 81, and that's 3, because 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is 81. 9 is 2m to the 1/3. That 1/3 in this case is only for the m. So that means 2 outside the radical and the cube root of m. Then number 10, now we've got parentheses around our 2m, so the cube root is around the 2m. Number 11, this is 9x to the 4th in parentheses to the 1/2 power, so you take the square root of the whole thing. And I did not finish this one, but you will finish this. Okay, number 12, 16x to the 8th to the 1/2 power means the square root of 16x to the 8th. Square root of 16 is 4, but the square root of x to the 8th, remember on exponents, you divide the exponent by our index, 8 divided by 2, so we get 4x to the 4th. Number 13 is negative 27 to the 1/3 power. 14 is negative 64th. The negative is not in parentheses to the 1/2 power. So since the negative was not in the parentheses, it does not go inside the radical. So it's negative square root of 64, negative 8. 15, negative 16 to the 1/4 power. Now 16 has negative 32 in parentheses to the 1/5 power. So 5 is your index. Your negative 32 goes inside the radical because it was in parentheses, and it's negative 2, because negative 2 times itself. Then going on, 17. Now we've got a number in the numerator of the fractional exponent, 16 to the 3/4, and here's what you do. Number 18, 4 to the 5 halves. I recommend the first thing you do is deal with the denominator, which means the square root of 4, in other words, square root of this number, which is 2. Then you take the top number of the fractional exponent and take that 2 to the 5th power, 2 times itself, 5 times is 32. 19 is negative 64 to the 2/3. 20 is negative 8 in parentheses to the 4/3 power. So first, denominator, cube root of negative 8 is negative 2. Then that negative 2 is taken to the power of 4. Negative 2 times itself, 4 times is 16. 21, negative 16 to the 3/4. The negative 16 is in parentheses. That's very important. Number 22, negative 9 in parentheses to the 3 halves. So negative 9 goes under the radical, and you take the square root of it. You can't take the even root, any even power, 2, 4, 6, 8, any of those indexes on your radical when you have a negative inside the radical. So it's not real. 23, 2x is in parentheses and everything to the 3/5. So that means the 5, the index, is around a radical with the 2x underneath the radical to the 3rd power. And then 2 to the 3rd power is 8x cubed, 5th root of 8x cubed. 24, though, the 2 is not inside the parentheses, and then you have x to the 3/5. That 3/5 is only for the x this time, so 2 is not in the radical. Then your 5 is your index, the 5th root of x cubed. 25, 7x plus 2 in parentheses to the 2/3 power. 26, x minus 4 to the 3/4 power. So the 4 is your index, and x minus 3, quantity cubed, goes underneath. 27, 16 over 9 in parentheses to the 3 halves power. 28, 49 over 5 to the 3 halves power. So first, square root of 49 and 25, 7 over 5. Then 7 over 5 cubed, 7 over 5 cubed, 343 over 125. (29) Now we have negative exponents. 8 to the negative 4/3. 30, 64 to the negative 2/3. So first, get rid of the negative exponent by changing, if it was in the numerator, take it to the denominator. And then we work with the fractional exponent. First, the denominator means the cube root of 64, which is 4, so we have 1/4 so far. Then we do the power, the 2 on top, so the 4 is squared, 1 over 16. 31, now parentheses, negative 64 to the negative 2/3. 32, negative 8 to the negative 4/3. First, get rid of the negative exponent, so it would be 1 over negative 8 in parentheses, I forgot the parentheses, to the 4/3 power, and I forgot the negative. Then I take the cube root of the negative 8, and that is negative 2, so 1 over negative 2. Then I take that negative 2 to the 4th power, which is positive 16, 1/16. 33, negative 4 in parentheses to the negative 3 halves. Careful here. Look at 34, negative 16 in parentheses to the negative 5/4. Get rid of the negative exponent by moving it to the denominator. 1 over negative 16 in parentheses to the 5/4. Then we're going to take an even root of a negative number, which is not real, so no real answer to 34. 35, x to the negative 1/4, 36. Y to the negative 1/6. Remember, get rid of the negative exponent, move it to the denominator, 1 over y to the 1/6. Then that 6 means 1 over the 6th root of y. Then 37, 1 over a to the negative 2/3. 38, 1 over n to the negative 8/9. So we move the n from the denominator to the numerator, gets rid of the negative exponent, n to the 8/9. And then that 9 means the index, 9th root of n to the 8th. And that's your answer. 39, you have 5, which does not have an exponent on it, so it's understood to be 1. 7 doesn't have an exponent on it, so it's understood to be 1. X to the negative 3/4. 40, 2 does not have an exponent on it, so it's understood to be 1 as its exponent. 3 does not have an exponent on it, understood to be 3 to the 1st. And then the y to the negative 5/7. So first we get rid of the negative 5/7 by moving the y to the numerator, so it's 2y to the 5/7 over 3. You see I missed it. And then we can get rid of the fractional exponent by making it 2 and the 7th root of y to the 5th over 3 as our answer for number 40.